It's safe to say that last season was one to forget for Liverpool Football Club. It was a dark time where nothing really went right. But the night is darkest just before the dawn, and there will be a new dawn for Liverpool. With a new Premier League season on the horizon, today we are going to be talking about Liverpool's new dawn and discussing how they will set up for the 2023-24 season. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe and smash that like button. Please hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss an upload. But now, let's talk about how Liverpool set up next season. And here we are. Here is this Liverpool side for the 23-24 season. Now, we are going to be going through a number of topics in this video, but we're going to be starting off with the signings that they have made. Currently, they have made two, and that is Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai. I'm expecting them to make at least one more, and I actually have that signing in this video, so stay tuned for who I believe that will be. But in total, I think they need two more, including the one that I've got coming up later. Whether they make that final one remains to be seen, but at the moment, we're going to be talking about the two ones that they've got over the door, and that is McAllister and Szoboszlai. Right, when we speak about McAllister and Szoboszlai, they're very good at going forwards. McAllister is particularly flexible in this left attacking midfield role, and we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. But Szoboszlai is their main one. £60 million, and we had $35 million for McAllister. Just brilliant prices, and both release clauses, which is very interesting. Liverpool doing some shrewd business yet again, going back to the best thing that was about them in the transfer window. But going forwards, how are they going to set up? That's what this video is all about. So I've got them set up here still in a 4-3-3. I still believe you're going to have a back four here. I still believe Fabinho is going to be the main central midfield pivot, and you're going to have two attacking eights. The front three pretty much speaks for itself, and I think that's exactly how Liverpool are going to line up, especially going into the latter part of the season in general. Cody Gakpo will be dropping a little bit deeper, a la the Roberto Firmino role. This allows Salah and Diaz to come through, press on, and then start to become a little bit more inverted. McAllister and Szoboszlai will be doing their best to both support, but also make sure they go around the sides. And why do I say that? Well, I think this season is going to be the season that we're going to see Liverpool transition away from the typical fullback roles. I think while Robertson is very, very good at bombing forwards, he is 29 years old and he's not getting any younger. Trent Alexander-Arnold has his own position now, and that's to come into midfield and partner Fabinho when Liverpool have possession. This allows them to be able to push more players forward, but also have a defensive base and a passing base from which to work off. It does mean, however, that defensively they're going to be a little bit different, as they're not going to have Trent bombing down one side, they're not going to have Robertson bombing down another, and Fabinho is going to be staying a little bit more stationary. But Robertson is going to tuck next to Van Dijk and Konate, who are all going to move across, and it's going to become something of a back three, and it should look something like this. If I just move these around for you so you see what actually goes on, it's going to create a box in midfield. We all know about this box. It's the one that Arsenal have been using, it's the one that Manchester City have been using, and famously have really started to develop. Diaz and Salah have more autonomy in this scenario because they're not being penned in by the overlapping runs from the wingers, and at the same time they've also got support and creative support from McAllister and Szoboszlai. As I said previously, Cody Gakpo drops into that midfield role and allows them to drive inside. But have no fear, Liverpool fans, it's not going to be as narrow as it seems. Szoboszlai and McAllister are going to use their brains, because they do have them, to be able to make outfield runs, to be able to drive and take defenders away. This gives the space for the likes of the two wingers, who are going to be getting the brunt of the goals, and that might come as a surprise to some people, but Cody Gakpo will not be getting a massive amount of goals. I do think it's going to come through Diaz, through Salah, and particularly through these two. I think Liverpool are going to share out the goals a little bit more, and while I do think that Salah is going to get most of them, it's going to be more shared out than it has been in a previous Liverpool side. So this is how Liverpool generally are going to set up, but now let's talk about them from a general point of view, because their overall philosophy, I think, is going to change somewhat. Take a look at this. here we have this Liverpool side, and I've got 3 particular positions that I want to look at when it comes to Liverpool going forwards and transitioning into the side that I think they're going to become in the 23-24 season. And this is it. We have 2 sets of 5 players. We have 5 attackers and we have 5 defenders. Now, this isn't anything new. A lot of teams have started to do this, but I think Liverpool towards the end of the last season have really started to transition into this. We know that Trent comes into midfield, and this is one of the main positions. This is the first position that I wanted to speak about. Trent in midfield just gives that space and gives that ability for them to, first of all, get him higher up the pitch on numerous occasions. Rather than him being penned out on this right-hand side, they found a position for him to be able to dictate from the middle of the pitch. If we think about some of his international games for England, we've seen him play passes just through the middle of the pitch, lofted over. He has an amazing pass on him, so why would Liverpool not use him? He can play that crossfield ball, and he also can find Salah on multiple occasions. Next to Fabinho, he's got some defensive solidity, and it's going to really depend on how much Robertson can make this role his. We know that he's very good going down the wing, and as I've said, he's 29 years old. He's going to start to need to change his game. I don't think his pace is going to be with him forever, and for that reason I think that Jurgen Klopp will trust him just to stay back that little bit more. It also helps on the counter-attacking cover if anybody did get through this midfield pivot, which, let's be honest, defensively it's not exactly the best. They do have pace in Robertson, Konate and Van Dijk to be able to deal with any kind of pace going back the other way against them. As for the other 2 main pivotal positions, we have Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai. We've spoken about that just a little bit, but really the link-up play between these 5 players going forwards is going to be absolutely key. McAllister, like I said, making outfield runs, as will Szoboszlai, to give Salah the space to come inside with Diaz, and Hakpo dropping a little bit deeper to be the link man between Fabinho and Trent Alexander-Arnold. It just all works and all fits together, and it's going to take time. Don't think that this is going to be immediate, but I do think this is how Liverpool are going to set up generally, and it's the way you're going to see them flow through the gears, especially after Christmas and towards the latter end of the stages. They are going to be showing some signs of it in their game against Chelsea, I would have thought. Pre-season is going to be massive, but eventually this is what it's going to look like. But how will they look from a defensive point of view? We know that this is in possession. Trent has the ball, or it could be McAllister. We know that they are in possession in this moment, but what will they do when it comes to being without the ball on those very few occasions when they will be out of possession? Let's have a look at this. Right, now I think Liverpool are going to do something completely different, and I think it's down to the flexibility of Alexis McAllister. Remember how we spoke about that at the start of the video? McAllister is extremely flexible when it comes to his position. He can play in a double pivot, and for that reason I think we're going to see Trent regress back to being a right back. Robertson is going to be staying in this position, and McAllister is going to move from being a central attacking midfielder to an all-and-out central defensive midfielder in a double pivot. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not going to be particularly defensive in this area, but it does give more space and more flexibility for this Liverpool defence. It also means that he's just taking up more space for the opposition to try and work under, and it eventually turns this 4-3-3 into what essentially is a 4-2-3-1, if you can read that properly. It changes the formation, and it means that there's, first of all, more space, or less space I should say, for the opposition in this area. It makes sure there's more bodies in through the middle of the pitch so they can't be blitzed through, and it also keeps Trent and Robertson in their preferred positions in terms of defensive orientation. Konate and Van Dijk can drop a little bit deeper if they ever need to, and they can also support the likes of Robertson and Trent. We know that Salah and Diaz are very hard-working players, and they will get back whenever they need to. Salah less so, we think could be cheating on the other side, but it also could be down to Szoboszlai, who will be making sure that he's able to cover round, and you might even see this midfield 2 become a midfield 3. Defensively, they have far more legs, and I think that's what a lot of Liverpool fans are thinking Fabinho might be back with. If you put some legs around him, he might be able to cope with the pace and the pressure of the Premier League that little bit more. But as from a defensive point of view, I think this is something that Liverpool could really go towards. The flexibility of McAllister from a defensive role, as well as being very good going forwards, is something that I think they could lean into without having to overcommit too many players forwards. So that way you still get bodies in the middle of the pitch, you still get Trent going forwards in that midfield position when you have the ball, but defensively you have him drop back to his natural position that he thinks that he's perfectly fine with, and it still keeps him as a right back. That also means that from a general counter-attacking point of view, you can utilise him to be able to find the passes up to Gakpo, Diaz or Salah whenever they try to make those counter-attacking plays. I think with the pace of Diaz and Salah, you're going to see those counter-attacking runs far more frequently. Finally, let's have a look at Liverpool's depth, because that's another thing that Liverpool are going to be extremely good with this season. First of all, let's have a look at the attackers. Now, if you remember, they had Diaz, they had Gakpo, and they had Salah. But if you change out all of those players now, Liverpool have 2 players for every attacking position. They have Darwin Núñez, who I think is going to really come into his own in this season coming. I think you're going to see him really start to stretch his legs and find his position down this left-hand side. I don't think he's an out-and-out striker, because I think you want him down the wings to try and make sure that they're able to really start to penetrate down the sides. Diogo Jota is more of a natural striker, so you're going to have him in the middle. And then you got Harvey Elliott, who's been played out of position, I think. Jurgen Klopp's tried to convert him into a midfield 8, something of the 8 that either McAllister or Szoboszlai were. But Elliott is going to be back in this right-hand role, I believe. He's just very, very good at going one-on-one with players, and he's got a decent cross on him. I think you're going to see him go back to his preferred position in this season, but it also means that Liverpool have huge depth in their squad. Finally, let's have a look at the midfield, because that was a big, big area for Liverpool. How does this midfield change, and what happens when you take out some of the first team players and replace them with some of the squad players? And that is what it is. And here we are. You've seen my final transfer that I think Liverpool are going to be able to make, and that is Romeo Lavia. I think Liverpool are in for him. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Jurgen Klopp's idea and his project that he wants to put forward is something that's going to be beneficial to Lavia. He can learn under Fabinho, and he can also make sure that he comes in for games when Fabinho's legs start to go. Curtis Jones has been given the rough end of the stick here, but I do think he can come into this side sooner than the likes of McAllister or Szoboszlai. I think he's going to be playing quite a lot, especially with how he's doing in the under-21s at the moment. They're doing very well, England are, and Curtis Jones is a massive part of that. Jordan Henderson is looking as fit as ever, and really he's going to start to transition into that James Milner role. I think you're going to see him coming into the side whenever they need some squad rotation, whenever they're playing something of a Carabao Cup game, or even some of the latter stages of the FA Cup. But as for some of the main Premier League matches, I think you're going to see Henderson transition out of the side a little bit more. Lavia needs game time if you're going to pick him up, and that means that they are going to have a lot of matches. Lavia will have enough game time. Now, we haven't spoken about the back four, because I think they do need to make one more signing. Perhaps a centre-back replacement, not saying that Van Dijk needs to go, but they do need one more in this centre-back duo. Overall, Jones, Lavia and Henderson isn't a bad midfield at all, and when you consider the fact that they could put in some more attackers or keep the likes of Gakpo, Salah and Diaz going forwards, this midfield 3 is much better than what they were able to put out last year, especially with how good and how much quality Lavia has. £50 million is a lot to be bargaining with, so it remains to be seen whether Liverpool can do a deal with Southampton. Overall, I think this is absolutely sensational. In the 23-24 season, I see Liverpool being a massive, massive threat. And it's some of these additions, especially the likes of McAllister and Szoboszlai, and these tactical changes and tactical tweaks that both of these players allow Liverpool to do, it's going to bring them back to their very best. I see them challenging at the top of the table with these tactics. But my question to you is, how do you see Liverpool going in this next season? We're not too far away, and now we can start to look at teams' setups and just generally speculate on how well they're going to do. I've got Liverpool being great again. Where do you have them ranked? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. But until then, take care of yourselves. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Take care, guys.